Welcome, everyone, to the Meaningful Hearts podcast, where we discuss the everyday questions that make us or break us if we let them. With your hosts, Drew and Daniela. Take our hands and let's walk this journey together. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Meaningful Hearts podcast. Happy New Year 2024. Today, Daniela and I would like to talk about holding our loved ones accountable when they do things that upset you or they do things that are pretty mean. But do they get off scot-free just because they're your mother, your father, your lover, a friend that's close to you? Hell no. I don't think so anyways. But we're going to dive into that episode right now. Daniela, play the music. So we're going to have a little bit of a I guess, a confession, right? Of something that might have gone on in our own lives. It may or may not be somebody we know. It may or may not be a friend. It may or may not be somebody specific. But just know that everything we say is coming from a point of some true-ish.
What?
I don't know. I'm trying to put a disclaimer. You know, like those shows, it's like, what you're about to witness is a true account of something that has happened. The only thing that has changed is the setting and the people that were participating. Due discretion is advised.
Well, I think the best way is just to come from a place of honesty. We all go through things in our lives, and sometimes the things that happen in our personal lives are not even sometimes, I think most of the times, the things that happen to us in our personal lives is what we bring to our show. The things that we learn, the things that other people teach us. So with what you were saying just now, as far as like our personal experience, this episode is actually inspired by a current struggle that I am literally in the middle of trying to figure out how to navigate. So prior to recording, Drew and I were having a conversation, and he said that it would be a good topic to discuss. In being completely honest, I actually really envy this about you, babe, that you just are like, it's easy for you to like detach from things that do not serve you and people who do not serve you. I have a much harder time, and I think that's what I'm currently struggling with. And it sucks because I wish that I could, sometimes I literally wish that I could just be like, like, F that, like, forget that. That's not bringing me value. But I literally cannot. So before we get into anything else, let me just give some background so that people understand. I'm currently in the middle of trying to figure out whether or not, or I guess how to hold somebody in my life accountable for the way that they're handling a situation. So like I said, it's just best to be honest so people understand. I have a friend who I've known for a very long time, and I forgot her birthday this year. And part of what plays into it is that I'm a very detailed person. And actually, a few years ago, when some of my friends forgot my birthday, I was really upset and I was really hurt by it. But I did address it with them, and I learned several things. One, that not everybody's as detailed as me. Two, that just because people forgot my birthday doesn't mean that they don't love me. I used to think that because I'm so detailed oriented and I'm so specific about things, that's how I show I care. And so I guess I thought that that's how other people should show me they care. And from that experience, I really learned that, hey, just because somebody forgets your birthday doesn't mean that they don't care about you. It'll hurt, sure, if birthdays mean a lot. But Drew, I know that you're not like the best with remembering birthdays sometimes. It doesn't mean that you don't care. You just show that you care in other ways. And so this one particular friend, she knows this about me. Like I said, I've known her a long time. And this year, I forgot her birthday. Drew and I happened to be doing Date with Destiny the day of her birthday, and it's not an excuse, but I think it's important to explore that we all go through things, and I got caught up. Now, granted, I take responsibility for forgetting her birthday. I really did, and I said it to her. So I remembered a few days later, and I reached out to her, and I said, hey, happy birthday. I'm so sorry that I forgot your birthday, but I hope that you spent it well. And, I hope that the universe continues to provide you many more birthdays or something along those lines. And I took accountability and I said, I'm sorry, I forgot. Now, her response to me was, LOL, thanks, Danny. And with an exclamation point. So my response was, let me try to make it up to you by taking you out to dinner. And I got no response. A few days later, I wrote again and I said, or not, with a little crooked face. Still no response. Now, the reason why I'm struggling so much to figure out how to navigate this situation is because I want to come from a place of understanding, and she has every right to be upset with me. I get that, especially when I am so detailed oriented and I don't usually forget those things. But the reason is because you're not communicating with me. You're not telling me that you're upset with me. And I think that from what I've learned, especially in the last year or so, I think in our last episode, I actually talked about how proud I am of myself for learning about healthy confrontation. And so now I have found myself in this situation where the person that I hurt is not willing to communicate with me or not willing to tell me. And that's kind of, I think I explained it well, but that's really the main reason why, I'm struggling, is because there's a part of me that's like, but you were wrong. Like, you forgot her birthday. And then there's this other part of me that's like, okay, you were wrong. You forgot her birthday, but you're also a human being. You took accountability, and it's ultimately up to her to communicate with you and say, hey, I'm really hurt that you forgot my birthday. I don't want to talk to you for a while. Even if she doesn't want to be my friend. Okay, I understand that. Would I allow somebody forgetting my birthday to completely ruin the friendship? No, because that's actually happened to me. And I've forgiven the people, and we've had a conversation about it, and we've moved on because I've learned to understand people make mistakes. That's just part of being human. And if somebody makes mistakes that hurts you so much, you have a right to choose to cut them out of your life. Is that something that I do? No. And that's part of the reason why I envy Drew, because, you, babe, can just really reflect and say, okay, I messed up, but if this person is not willing to communicate with me, not even worth it. You're not bringing any value to my life, and I'm just going to cut you off. I cannot do that. It literally weighs on me, clearly, as this topic has come about. So that's kind of where I am in the middle of trying to figure it out. I also, if she ever hears this will probably upset her, but oh well. I'm also so conflicted because she happens to be a defensive person. And so thinking about how to hold her accountable, she has a high chance of, being defensive and not being receptive to my feedback. So if you ever listen to this, this is about you. But if not, again, I think this is actually a really good teaching moment for us to talk about in general. And at least I'm being vulnerable because I'm the one experiencing this. And I've always said that it's when people are the most vulnerable that I can relate to them the most. And so here I am being vulnerable about something I'm struggling with. Yeah.
Well, I really do appreciate you for sharing. It's tough to go through it and then vocalize it to the world. Wherever you're listening, just so you know, it could be anywhere on this planet.
Right.
It's really tough, right? Especially when you're still developing and understanding what you're feeling and what you're going through.
Yes.
I'm drinking
water in case the background noise. I apologize.
It's okay. I'm going to mute that out. Just kidding. Maybe not. It'll add a little humanistic interference. Humanistic interference?
Excuse me.
That's a word.
Humanistic interference. Yes, it is a word.
Yeah. So just to disclose, I'm not a cold piece of shit.
I'm
You guys are
sorry.
wondering.
I did not mean to make you sound like that.
I just want, because I would take that away, right? Oh, wow, he's cold. No. And to cut anybody out of my life just like that, it's easier said than done. I have held people in my life that I shouldn't have for a very, very long time when I should have cut them out of my life. I guess that sometimes or in certain situations, it's easier for me to do so or be more direct with that person. I think the people that stay in my life, even if maybe I didn't want them in my life, do know where I stand. Whether they decide to stay in my life,
Sure.
they will know where they fucked up and how I feel about it. So I would say that I'm not like, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I cut you out. I might say that, but it's easy. Like I said, it's easier said than done because there is a genuine love for a lot of the people that I've had in my life, past or present. So yeah, it's not like, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. There are some people that have done enough in my life where I'm like, yeah, I won't lose sleep over because in all reality, what they did was pretty messed up and there's nothing there. I've made my decision based on how you're acting, how you're moving. It's not anywhere near where I would want to be with you in a relationship at all. So just a disclaimer on that, but
sorry.
no, I am pretty cold. I'm not gonna lie. I am pretty cold, but I also have a level of love and care in the things that I say and do. Everything I say, if I tell you something, if I advise you on something, I am willing to part ways in that relationship, knowing that I pushed you in the right direction. Sure. Whether it says the relationship is a sacrifice, but you will know in the future that I pushed you in that direction, despite a relationship, but to give you the best version of you and the outcome of it. And whether you learn that 5 years from now, or you learn that maybe you don't learn that until ever, I can make peace with that. So that's the place that I come from. It's not from a place of ego.
What's interesting is that I also feel that way about people that I've held accountable in my life that I've loved and cared for. Right now, I think part of what makes me so conflicted is, do I even want to try? Do I even want to try to do that? I'm literally split down the middle. And it's so interesting because I've had several conversations with other support systems that I've had. And I literally get, depending on the person's personality, somebody will tell me, listen, you tried, you messaged her twice and she didn't answer you. It's not like she doesn't have her phone because you know she has her phone. So why bother? And then other people are like, I think you should reach out one more time and let her know, what it is that you're feeling and hold her accountable. So it's literally 50-50. And there are times in my life where I have said to the people that I've held accountable, listen, I know that I can walk away from this conversation knowing that I came from a place of love and understanding. It wasn't like I came at you. I am a planner when it comes to having uncomfortable conversations. So I really think about what I'm going to say and make sure it comes from a neutral standpoint and not an emotional standpoint, because that's where conversations get heated. People cannot have a conversation if it's only coming from an emotionally fueled state. You can have emotions in the conversation, but your mood, like your state, has to be neutral because you have to be able to be receptive to things that you don't necessarily want to hear. So in those conversations, I have said, listen, I want people in my life who are willing to grow and be held accountable. And right now I'm like literally in the middle. And also, something else that plays into it is when we talk about accountability. So accountability is a sense of taking responsibility for things that you've done, said, or I think just done and said to either other people or yourself. That is part of what taking accountability is. And I think I read somewhere once that there are people in the world who feel like friendships are not for accountability, that's what therapy is for, or that's what a professional is for, because friendships are meant to support. And I get that. I only semi-agree with it, though, because I think that, yes, while accountability is important from a professional or an outside perspective, I also think that friendships and relationships require a level of accountability, because it's like how much like if you have a friend that is either self-sabotaging or engaging in behavior that is not good for themselves or for other people, at what point do you decide, hey, you know, you're being a jerk, like you're engaging in unhealthy behavior? Or do you just continue just listening and holding space for them? And because that's essentially what people who struggle with taking accountability need. They just need somebody to listen to them and tell them that they're right, at least partially true. So when it comes to accountability, while I do think that there are places specifically for accountability, I also think that, you know, amongst friendships and relationships, accountability is important. I know, Drew, baby, you and I, we both take accountability for the things that we say and do, whether it's to each other, to ourselves, to other people. And I think it's wonderful to have that in a relationship. And yet some people just cannot.
I think that the biggest thing I could say is that something that I've developed over time, something that I've learned. I actually learned this from Tarun, who's, holy shit, loves with his heart, but is a cold savage when it comes to dispatching somebody if he needs to with love after that. There's a lot of love, but it's powerful. It's being a close friend of his and being somebody that has known him for a very long time. It's fair love. There's no punches held back, but at the same time, it's tough to bear, right? It's like the ultimate accountability. Like it's on another level. But the one thing I did learn was off of that you don't have to have interactions with people and hold them all accountable. There might be acquaintances, people in your life that are not necessarily going to be in your inner circle, that don't deserve or need that. And you can interact with them. Maybe they're on a team with you, you play sports, but you're never really going to push them or really go that far with them. But that's as far as the relationship goes, right? It also comes down to, what relationship are you trying to have? Are you trying to have that level of relationship that I'm willing to have? Some people are not.
That's a good question.
Most people are not. I don't think most people are. They want to have a surface relationship. They want supporters. They want a group of people they can go back to when their family or the people that quote unquote like mean the most to them, as far as maybe their lover or whatever, they're wrong. So they come running to their group. Oh, my supporters will make me feel good about myself and make me feel good about the decisions I made and things that I said. And I know I'm right in this circle. A lot of people want that circle. They don't want to run back and be told, no, you were wrong here. Go back and make it right. Yeah. That is the hardest thing. I've been there. Like, holy shit. I thought I was going to get a support system. No, I got unbiased opinion. Comes from the right place. I'm not on the side of you. I'm on the side of what's right. And that is the hardest thing for people to hear. It's like, wait a minute, you're against me then. No, I'm not against you. I'm for you. I'm trying to make you the best human being possible that you could be. And in the world that we operate in, it's not always going to be about your family members. It might be with your boss. It might be with colleagues. It might be out there. I don't want you making an ass of yourself, thinking that you're right when you're not. And it's not about being right. It's about being fair and honest. A lot of people don't want to do that. So most of the people you're interacting with or think that are in your inner circle, unless you push them, unless you know that's the relationship I want, and you push them in that direction, you're going to lose them quickly. Given the situation you're in right now. Yeah. That's what it is. She'll go to the next person that will support her childish behavior.
Right.
Hence why she has the people around him. Hence why she has the relationship she does. And I don't want to go into great detail, but you kind of understand that you and everybody that knows her agrees with you because they know how she behaves. And I haven't known her that long, but knowing her as your friend, I completely have seen the behavior, and just in a small window of time, I've seen that. Mm-hmm. And you've known her for how long?
A very long time.
Yeah.
I've known her since high school. It's a long time.
And the interesting thing is, you hold yourself to such high standards. Mm-hmm. Like, you come from a great place. You come from heart. You're willing to receive very hard information. The relationship, the foundation that we've built our relationship on is on that. Mm-hmm. but you allow others around you to not operate at that same level. So you're up here and they're down here as far as reception. And it's like, I'm willing to hear from you, but you're not willing to hear from me. So was that really a friendship? And we're really far apart.
Yeah.
And it's not being on a high horse, not at all. You're very humble, but it just comes down to what type of relationship are we trying to have. I don't think you're trying to have the same relationship I am. And I understand, I love you. That's not going to change. But it also comes from a place of, I can never connect with you on the level that I would like to. We can do great things. And maybe in the future you want to connect on the level. I'm always open to it. But at this point in time, that's just not possible.
Yeah. I don't necessarily think it's funny, but as you were talking, I'm like, oh my God, am I a bad person for talking about this on our show with listeners? You know, because then I think, you know, somebody, obviously if she were to listen to this, you know, she'd take it. Who wouldn't, right? Like anybody who gets talked about, especially on something like a podcast, how could the person not take it personal? So it has me questioning, man, am I a bad person? And I think part of the reason why I share that is because, one, it's literally what's coming to my mind right now. But I also think that in my work with people, often when people are going through a struggle and it involves relationships, not just romantic, but friendships and family, people often ask themselves, am I a bad person? And I think I just had one of those moments where, am I a bad person for talking about her on the show instead of talking directly to her? So I don't know. I had that thought. I know I'm not a bad person, but maybe it's not the best thing to be doing. But at the same time, you know, it's part of being vulnerable and being honest about things that happen in my life. This is a genuine struggle. And it's not just with her that I experience this struggle. I experience this struggle time and time again, because you and I were literally just talking about this before we started recording. The fact that I come from a place of such care is literally a blessing and a curse for me, because I will go above and beyond for the people that I care about. And that includes my relationships in my personal life, but also my relationships with the people that I work with, my colleagues and my clients. And in that sense, it's a blessing, but it's also a curse, because now I found myself in a situation like this where I'm literally debating. Do I let it go? Do I say something? Do I stay prideful and just like, whatever, like if we talk, we talk. If we don't, we don't. Like, it's literally such a difficult place. So I don't know. It's challenging.
Well, this is not a diss record, right? We're not here talking smack, right? It didn't come from, oh, I can't believe she's like this. She's such a fool. And then you went on a rant about her life and pick her apart. It was not like that, right? This is more like a therapy session in a sense, right? I want to talk to the world, share my opinion, my thoughts. I didn't share her name. There's still love and care in that. And if she did hear this, because of the way that she thinks, even if there was any good in what you said, she would only look for the negative anyways. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter where, it doesn't matter who, doesn't matter when. So, and that once again validates how amazing you are and how things come from such a kind place. And I know you're going to have a conversation with her. I know that you're practicing or you're trying to get your thought process out. So when you do, it comes from the best possible place, and you're not just going to throw something off the hip based on how you're feeling. You're going to be in a neutral mind state, and you're going to have the best conversation with a great decision in the end. And that I think ultimately makes you an incredible person for that, and a good and an amazing friend.
I appreciate that. I really do. But you're biased.
No, I can be neutral in that. And you know that
I know.
I've said things to you that you didn't want to hear.
Yes.
And you internalize that and we're upset, but then appreciated me for saying that. And in return, I'm a little colder, or maybe I come from I shoot from the hip sometimes and I say things immediately. This is exactly what it is. And I don't think as much. You think it through more, which at times it's great for me. I'm in sales. I can shoot from the hip. I'm willing to do that. And it works for me, but it also works against me. And especially in my personal life, it's hard. So yeah, that's the yin and yang thing going on, you know?
Yeah, it's a tough one. Definitely is a tough tough situation because, like I said, I do go above and beyond for the people that I care about, both professionally and personally. So to be in a situation like this, it sucks. It's frustrating. And then I find myself literally like, so our brain has different parts, but two of those parts are your logic brain and your emotional brain. It's literally like my logic brain is like fighting with my emotional brain to try to figure out how to navigate. And when I've talked to others about this, one of the questions that has come up that I also think is important for listeners to keep in mind is to think about the quality of the relationship that you have with the person or the people that you're struggling to hold accountable. That's literally what I am in the process of trying to figure out, is what value does our friendship bring into my life? Because the sad reality is, if you find yourself in a position where you're bringing more value to the person's life than they are bringing to yours, then maybe it is important to consider whether or not you should be keeping this relationship in your life. Especially because right now in my life where I am, I want people around me to say, hey, you did this to me. Like, you upset me, so that I can take accountability. How can I grow? You know, especially again, because I've learned a lot about healthy confrontation and what that does for relationships and how people will see you if you know how to express yourself. Something that I don't really understand, and this is something that human beings do, and I've definitely done this in the past, I'm kind of doing this right now, is talking about the problem that you have with the person with everybody but the person that you have the problem with. I see this time and time and time and time again. That's honestly how I found out that my friend was actually upset with me, and wasn't just okay because I was having a conversation with another friend of mine about what happened, and she told me like, hey, she's upset with you because you forgot your birthday. And it literally happened yesterday too. I was in the nail salon, and a woman walks in, and she's talking to the person who's doing my nails, and she's telling her that she's really upset with the hairstylist because they messed up her highlights, and this like a perm that they do too. And in my head, I'm like, but why don't you tell the person that did it? Right. And I think it's a common thing. It feels a little bit like I'm doing that right now, but I also know myself. I know, and in talking about it and thinking it through, I know there's a part of me that will reach out. It's just of what am I going to say and how am I going to say it? Because I need to be very careful of making sure that the things that I say, I know come from a neutral place and not from a, hey, you got upset with me first and then I got upset with you for getting upset with me, because that's not what it is at all. It's just it's really about the lack of communication that's like bothering me. So I thought to throw that in there too. I don't know if that made sense, but
I would say personally and professionally, I'm in sales, and one thing I could say is that the customer will never tell you what their problem is. They'll push you off until you prompt them with a question, and they'll say something, and you have to take the symptoms or the issues that they're having based on what they're saying and then decode it. Mm-hmm. And it's a problem with the other person they're doing business with, and they don't want to do business with them anymore, but they won't tell them. But they'll put themselves at risk. They'll put themselves in a scenario that is not beneficial to their lives, but they're afraid to have the conversation, that they're willing to risk their financial futures because of it. Mm-hmm. It transfers over into everything. So
yeah,
we see it all over. Humans are afraid of confrontation.
Yes.
They would step into the lion's den knowing they're going to get mauled.
Yeah.
Because they're afraid of being impolite.
Yeah. That's interesting.
I think it's a good place we could stop this. And
yeah, I think so. I mean, this is one of those situations where it's not going to have necessarily a solution, but it was important. I think you certainly encouraged me to talk about it on our show because it's, again, a current struggle. But it also helps us pose some questions to our audience that I've said and you've said throughout the episode. Is one question that you said that I actually really liked is, what type of relationship are you looking to have with the people around you? Can it be a relationship where there is a form of accountability, or is it one of those relationships where you're just going to shoot the shit and kind of like, just be, right? And then some of the other questions is considering the quality of the relationship that you have and what value the relationship is bringing into your life. And if you're bringing more value to that person, that party, that group than they are to you. So, depending on how this plays out, maybe we'll revisit this in the future. Might be good to revisit this in the future, actually, to see how it goes so people can know. But I will also say that if anybody listening has any feedback, any thoughts, any questions, Drew said it as we were talking, I am more than happy to listen or read, I guess, if you reach out to us, because I'm a human being. Drew's a human being, and we're open and vulnerable. So I'm not afraid to say that I'm wrong. So yeah. So questions for you to think about. Thanks for listening. And I appreciate you all. I think Drew does too.
I do.